So with that being said, we can go ahead and take a look at the Master Yi deck list right after we look into this matchup. Both these competitors are 5-1. Third versus number 6, and this could be a very big deciding factor. Master Yi, we've been able to see throughout the day exactly what it's able to do, but we don't know quite what Darius has been able to do in this tournament, and he's about to prove it right now.
Yep, and here we go into the deck list. Master Yi, no big surprises here. We've seen this deck list time and time again. We know the pieces that we're going to be seeing here. We have the Unyielding Spirit, we have the Sabotage, and the Wind Wall that we haven't seen come up today in the sideboard, but pretty much standard Yi list, no big surprises there. And we have seen Jay on stream before, so we know how he pilots it and how he gets down. But let's get into the hype factor, ladies and gentlemen. A deck we haven't seen today all day, Darius. And Darius is looking solid. And what list this is actually is the Baited Hook Darius list. And SK, talk to me about this because you wanted to see this deck list, especially.
This is one of my favorite things because you have the ability to use the hook. Now, what that's going to do is if you go ahead and say take out your 3 cost, you are able to then go ahead and look at the top 5 cards and be able to play something that costs 1 more or less. So you can really start to flood the board with even like a Vayne, for example, try to get a 2 cost to go ahead and play a 3 cost to build tokens out onto the board, or one of the biggest things as well, to go ahead and play a Spectral, which can then go ahead and fish out something from your discard to then play it out as a unit as well. So you can go super wide, super fast, and that can be devastating for anyone to have to go against.
Yeah, and here we see on the battlefield side of things as well, this Darius is using that Trifarian War Camp that we see Victor and token strategies tend to use, and then the Arena's Greatest looking to turbo out the game a little bit faster, and also the addition of the Candlelight Sanctum as well, just being able to stack and look at the top 2 cards of your deck, seeing what your next draws are going to be. And then in the sideboard, we have some interesting use cases here. We have the Darius just to have that flat buff. We have the Cull the Weak to deal with more body-reliant game plans. And then we also have the Bryn Hilder, I believe the name is, the one that basically says your opponents can't cast spells this turn. Also another cool addition as well. And a little bit of gear hate on the side of Darius. And man, I'm looking forward to seeing this deck in action for sure. So, oh man, round number 7, last round of the day in the Swiss side. I'm super excited. Hopefully we get to see a nice, good, clean match. I hope you guys at home are also ready. Let's get into it. Round number 7, last match of the day in Swiss. I hope we get a good game here.
Well, and I think we will here. And I'm going to be saying here as well, while we're waiting for the game to really get going, Grand Stratagem is going to be a big difference maker here with that. You build up your board state, you have everything here, and you see this in Victor a lot as well. And so to be able to now have Grand Stratagem to be played in a Darius deck, ooh, it's going to get scary. And I mean, this is going to be the biggest thing though. If you miss Baited Hook, will that slow you down enough as a Darius player to allow Master Yi to just go ahead and take the battlefields and be like, hey, I got him now. You can't necessarily do everything.
Yeah, missing the Baited Hook would spell a little bit doom and gloom for sure. Definitely not something you want to be missing here. But it always is the possibility, especially with these like Searcher type effects. We've seen Aurora miss earlier with not getting some good hits. We've also seen it happens. It happens from time to time, just getting some really bad draws and stuff like that. But hopefully we don't see that here in this game.
No, and again, like a card I brought up, I do want to read it specifically for you guys. It's going to be Spectral Matron. This one specifically can be a difference maker, especially with the hook, because you get to search, and if you go ahead and play it, it says, when you play me, you may play a unit costing no more than 3 and no more than 1 recycle from your trash, ignoring its cost. And so just really crazy stuff that you can go ahead and do to try to get in, another game with Vanguard Captain to add more units. And here we go into game number 1, as both these competitors are ready to go ahead and start their mulligan to see what their starting hand is.
And we have been talking about it, but we haven't actually talked about what Darius actually does. And it's a very simple ability when we think about it. Is it has Legion, so that means when the second spell happens or second action in the turn happens, you get to add 1 energy. Really, really strong effect, especially if you're looking to go super wide and go aggressive. And we saw in the deck list there, he is also running I call them sigils, but I forget their actual name. But just being able to use that in tandem. And here we see Darius being able to do that, basically being able to play for 0 and then immediately getting that Legion effect and then playing the Legion Rearguard, being able to get 2 tokens out onto the battlefield on that turn 1. Insane turn 1 right there.
Yeah, and that's exactly just how fast this deck can move here. You just were able to go ahead and play out your mana rock essentially, and then go ahead and flood the board with 3 units that now can go ahead and score you a lot of points. Will Master Yi necessarily be able to have answers to that? Yes, but how fast can you go ahead and get back into this will be the deciding factor. And again, we're going to be seeing what specifically might be going on in the hands of our 2 competitors here. First and foremost, it looks like a Vayne and a Kaisa are going to be in hand, but no hook in this case.
Yep, and here we see just the Faithful Manufacturer coming down. And then on the side of Yi as well, having the access to the Pookie and the Clockwork Keeper as well. So it's definitely has a lot of good early game here, but it's kind of weird because Darius is the one who's going to be pressing this Master Yi to be aggressive, right? Usually all day we've seen Master Yi throwing these bodies on board, being the aggressor, but now Darius is saying, hey man, now you got to play defensively. This is my game and you're just existing in it.
Well, and that's exactly it. Master Yi really tries to thrive on, let me get to the battlefield and hold. But now here we go is saying, hey, let's go ahead and, play the game with you. And right now we see right there a Hidden Blade coming out. And depending on what you go ahead and select, because you can select your own unit at a battlefield to be able to draw 2 cards as well. And then not only that, but we also have the Dreaming Tree out onto the battlefield. So if you go ahead and it says the first time you choose a friendly unit with a spell here, this turn draw 1. So if you select yourself as the unit to be destroyed by Hidden Blade, you can draw up to 3 cards, which in a Darius deck, that is pretty scary.
That is like saying I'm going to put my pedal on my foot on the gas pedal and go bird. 3 cards is just insane, especially with these aggro decks. One of the big drawbacks is just running out of steam. But saying, hey, to your opponent, I'm going to draw 3. Doesn't matter if you get this. Take your 1 point. Go ahead.
Yep, and I mean, still being able to add a buff over to your Poro there, so now it's going to not only get the shield 1, but it also will have, Master Yi added to that as well with a buff. So, I mean, that is a lot of stuff. That is up to 6 now, if I'm doing my math correctly, on what you need to overcome there.
Yep, 6 on the side. And, man, Pookie has put in so much work in this tournament. If we can get Pookie up there, just being to say, hey, I'm going to play a body on turn 1 and then use Pookie to come down and say, I'm going to buff that body. And especially in this Yi deck here, it's just so good. Pit Rookie just does so much work in the early game.
No, seriously, though, because that, especially for Master Yi, just that extra 1, that extra 2, it can really shut down your opponent to where they won't necessarily have the ability to then overwhelm. But Vayne here is a great answer to that. Now, why? Because Vayne is able to go ahead and have Assault 3, meaning that when I enter a battlefield, I get +3 attack. Then on top of that, if I go ahead and take this battlefield, I can pay 1 to return me to the owner's hand. So that means that Vayne can then go ahead and return next turn and continue to keep on attacking.
But here we see the Master Yi player just saying, hey, I respect that, but I'm just going to discipline my way just to trade out here. You get no value, I get no value. But, hey, Darius just says, hey, I'm going to push a token. I'm going to get this battlefield anyways. Get my 1 point. And now Darius is on 4. Like, take that in. We are on what looks like to be the 3rd turn of the game, and Darius is already at 4, which is very, very crazy. Very, very fast game plan right here.
Well, and you're right, but at the same time, Master Yi has done a great job at dealing with the threats on board, and we see a unit being pulled back and now a Poro going out. That Poro is going to be an interesting one, adding an Assault 1, so when it attacks, it gets +1 might added, but still, even with that, that was a lot of utility that was used on Darius's side, and it looks like we are going to be taking both battlefields. So now, just like that, it is 3-4 in that case. And so it is still a close game, but it's really going to come down to, I think at least, who's going to have the better draw, because whoever has the better draw could very well be taking this game here.
Yep, and we see here on the side of Master Yi, if we're looking at the runes here, this is all body runes. We're not seeing any calm here, so it does take off like things like Defy, but other cards are still fine. And here we're seeing another Pookie come down, so Pookie will be able to get a buff on one of these units here, so buffing it up by 1. Just deciding which battlefield wants the value a little bit more. And probably going to go for the... Okay, so it goes for the Candlelit Sanctum. I don't know if I would have went for the Candlelit Sanctum. I'd probably go for the Dreaming Tree, but definitely can see the argument for going for that instead. And back over to the Darius player now. Darius has a lot of tools here. Has 3 units on the battlefield, 1 being a token, and then having a 2/2 and two 2/2s, I should say, and still has the access to his champion as well. And we have seen how Darius, the champion, can put in a lot of work. And here we're going to see that Spectral Matron that we've been talking about, and it's going to end up getting that. That unit there is going to also make 2 tokens as well. And the reason why this happens is just because it sees the Spectromation as a second spell being played, so the Legion will get to proc making those 2 tokens, and then also just playing the Faithful Manufacturer, just getting another token as well. And we went from a board of only 3 units to about 8 right now. And man, those are numbers, bro. Actually, 9 units on board right now.
Yeah, and that's going to be the tough part, though, too, because, yes, 9 units, very difficult to have to deal with, but all of them have 1 or 2 might is all. You know, we have one with 3. And you know, while it is a good armada here to be able to attack with, you need to find a way to at least be able to utilize them well, because, I mean, if you go ahead and play, for example, like the Master Yi onto the field, that's 8 that you're already going to have, not counting things if you can go ahead and buff them further with that. So you got to be a little bit careful about that. But it looks like a Kiana is going to be played from the hand into base, and maybe even potentially trying to figure out how to maybe take back once these units move on to the battlefields.
Yep, and that's going to be the deciding factor here. These coming turns are really going to be what decides this game here, because on the side of Prismaticism, he has the board. He needs to be able to get into these battlefields. He has even the right curve. He's on that even score chain here, and if he can go to 6, all he will have to do is do the double hold or double capture, and he's prime, peak, and willing to take this game 1 here. But on the side of Jay, he's on that odd curve, so he will have to take 1 or either hold 1, go to 6, and then double cap in a turn.
Exactly. Well, and the biggest thing too is both players have a lot of runes to now utilize as well. And so Darius here, this is going to be a big turn, exactly right with what you were saying there. And depending on how he goes about this and the answers that he continues to have, I mean, this can really be devastating to Master Yi. Even still, though, it really can just be 1 turn to go ahead and turn it around here. If we have a primal strength going on, if we have even like a charm, for example, to move something out and away, this can be a really big difference maker here, especially as now you will be going in to having 10 runes at the start of your next turn as the Master Yi player.
Yeah, and maybe here we see Prismaticism play a little bit of more slower game plan. Maybe see if he can get 1 or 2 bodies onto the battlefield. See if he can double cap in this turn, and then maybe next turn set up for a Grand Stratagem play. Maybe wait it out and see if he can get Grand Stratagem. Because remember, he will have a stronger crackback here just because of how small these bodies are. Like you mentioned, they're only 1 to 2 might, biggest being 3, right? And if you don't have a way to deal with them on the crackback, right, it's just going to spell doom for you as a Darius player because things like Primal Might, for example, can just boost up big bodies here. And here we're going to see a double push, it looks like, onto this Pookie here. So this is looking like, I want to say 6, 7? And then
And a primal strength.
yep, no surprise. Coming down, boosting up the Pookie. Pookie's going to get big now. So Pookie going up to 9 there. So having to decide how much damage. Pookie's going to be chilling. At 9, Pookie is chilling. Going to end up healing there and only able to deal 7, I think. I believe the Spectral Matron is a 4. And then the Legion Rearguard is a 3.
Yep, and just like that too, they will be able to heal up after that exchange as well. So Pit Rookie will then be at full strength again, which is going to make it more difficult to even take back at the turn or for the rest of the turn. Still, though, Darius now sees that Master Yi is completely tapped out of all runes, so the other battlefield is his for the taking. Just going to have to go ahead and get over 5 to be able to take that, but still, that could be a lot of units then going. But it looks like we have a Hidden Blade then coming in, giving his opponent 2 extra cards to be able to take out that unit. I mean, that was a big hit, though, adding 2 cards to hand, but the Primal, I mean, that just made it to where you had little choice to be able to take the battlefield here, and now going up 5-5.
Yeah, and the beautiful thing about that Primal Strength, actually, because Jay was controlling that area, the Dreaming Tree actually proc there, so he did actually get a card draw there. So he actually got 3 cards off of that exchange, which was pretty solid. And here we see, like I mentioned, Prismaticism taking both battlefields and now is on that 6 point, potentially looking at game here. And if he has the stratagem back up next turn, he can then push that stratagem, looking to go in. And what he's probably looking to do here is just put as many bodies. And here we see another Spectral Matron coming down and making more tokens. So he is setting up for a game push next turn. And as Yi here, you are in a very rough position, because now this turn you have to recognize that next turn this might be your last turn, straight up.
Well, and because even if you do manage to take both battlefields back, there is still a lot of utility waiting for you at the base. So when Darius goes ahead and readies himself up, and even still, you have the Darius even outside of the deck that you can then go ahead and play another card and be able to have a 7 unit at the ready to be able to attack him with anywhere that you want to go. And it's like, well, what do I do now as a Master Yi player? How do I continue to maintain this game where there's 7 on one side and, sure, 1 on the other, we're going to be able to take that, sure. But what can I really do? And for those of you wondering as well, the Candlelit Sanctum is an interesting battlefield as well, because when you conquer here, you look at the 2 cards of your main deck and you may recycle 1 or both of them. And so you would go ahead and put those on the bottom of your deck if you so choose. So that is a great window to be able to see what might be coming in next to your game. And that's why you've maybe seen the 2 cards flat down on the battlefield there.
Yep, for sure. And we saw it in use earlier, just being able to stack a little bit, especially when you're using cards like Discipline, for example, basically guaranteeing what you're going to be drawing into there. Also really strong. Kiana, for example, if you conquer with Kiana, you can also get to see what you're drawing into there as well. So definitely some very niche use cases there. And here we're seeing a big tap here. And the MVP, I want to say, for the day in Snapvine, going to come down here. And now Jay's going to be looking to conk on the Dreaming Tree and gets the conquer, going up to 7. And then also hiding a card on top of it as well. Hiding 2 even. So we know what have we seen today? We have seen the Cub, we've seen the Zanyas, we've seen a few other cards. So there definitely is some shenanigans to be had here. And now the question is, does Darius have stratagem? His stratagem kind of just puts numbers a whack. And right now Jay is just looking at Darius and saying, hey man, do you have stratagem? If not, I'm holding, I'm winning. Right? And even then, that's still a lot of math that you have to do to get over this.
I mean, and just a great reaction there from Master Yi as well, just being able to deal with the threats at hand. And it really almost comes back to Hidden Blade right there that Darius played to be able to take care of, the threat there with the Primal Strength unit. I mean, you were able to go ahead and, yeah, you saved 2 of your units there, but you gave Master Yi 2 more cards that you have to go ahead and deal with here. And so it's like, well, here we go. And so
Yep.
with that, it's like we got some responses there, but it looks like that is going to be the game as Master Yi is able to hold on and secure game number 1. And so that was an exciting game. I mean, it went both ways, back and forth, where it looked like Darius had a very strong front there, being able to get a lot of board presence. But again, maybe those units were too little, too late, and I mean, too little in might as well to be able to try to take back the battlefields as needed. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, it was very, very strong back and forth. It was looking really, really grim. But just sometimes that's what you got to do. You just got to hold out. You got to pray. And sometimes your top decks just do it for you, right? So shake it off, go into game number 2, and just look at it at a different approach and see what you can do differently.
Well, and that's going to be the biggest thing too, especially because your side decks are specially designed for your specific matchups here. And so it's like, well, what are we going to be going for here? In the Master Yi matchup, it's like, I'm looking at maybe adding in some, it's tough because it's like we have some sabotage maybe, but we don't have necessarily anything to really deal with very wide boards. But on the Darius side, you got some Call of the Week. So when they're trying to hold the battlefields here, it could be a very scary and very different story as we go into this.
Yep, and this is what we have to think about here, is going to be those sideboards. So let's take a look at the deck list and see what both decks can do to traverse this game 2 here. And let's start off with Yi. So Yi, we talked about it. Honestly, me personally here, I would come in with the Sabotage. Sabotage, just seeing what your opponent has. Yes, there's a lot of units, but there's also some cheeky stuff as well. Maybe going into the win wall, maybe looking to say, hey, I don't want to do some of this stuff as well. That's also an option as well. But honestly, it felt pretty good regardless. Like, it didn't really, like, there was nothing like bad about the gameplay. So I think I would just chill, honestly. I wouldn't even change a thing.
Well, but here's the biggest thing is that Darius has some great answers going against Master Yi here, taking a look at his deck list. Biggest thing that we are going to be citing here potentially is going to be Thunder Song. Now, the reason why I am saying that is because it says when you play me, opponent's can't play cards this turn. And so you go ahead and play it, and it's like, hey, Master Yi, guess what? You can't do anything with your units at this point. I'm just going to go ahead and go in and get this. And so it's going to be fun to see how this is going to continue to develop, because that, I think, is going to be a big difference maker with Call of the Week as well.
Yep, and honestly, this really is going to come down to the nitty-gritty. We saw how the back and forth there was going 1-2, 1-2. We couldn't tell who was going to get the dub at any given time. They were both playing it very well.
Really quick, though, I don't mean to cut you off, but we missed a grand stratagem. And so Darius ended up taking game 1. That is my mistake completely, but Darius ended up playing a grand stratagem, and that caused the scoop. And so that was something that we ended up missing. So Darius took game 1.
Yeah, the grand stratagem, like we said, we saw that build up there, and the grand stratagem ended up getting it in the end. But shake it off, last round, you got to get the dub to make that top 8. So anyways, let's get right into it.
Yeah, and so that's going to be a big move right there. So the Darius does have the game 1 win, and now Master Yi is, going to start doing his mulligans, trying to get some good board presence and get things moving. And so we'll see how it ends up going with this. And so with that, Master Yi at least is able to get a unit out onto the board. Now 3 runes going out isn't necessarily going to make a huge impact for the Darius, but still trying to get a Trifarian Glory Seeker. That is going to be something that can buff another unit, but in this case is going to be falling out. But still, 1 unit on the board is better than others, and answering with a Kiana is going to be a great response there for Master Yi.
And here we see like just Darius using that ability just to basically say, I'm getting 2 units on board anyways, and whatever you play, I'll be able to get those early caps is just really, really strong. But the Glory Seeker definitely coming down, and here we're seeing a Vayne coming down, and this is an accelerated Vayne, so gonna go on to this Trifarian War Camp, gonna be +1, and then just saying, hey, I'm gonna push this as well and hold as well. So boom, 1-1, and we're going straight into the fights already.
Yep, and I mean exactly. You got to make that big impact here. And now Vayne moving in is going to be a big say. You know, hey, I'm going to go ahead and get this here. It's going to be interesting though, because these battlefields are interesting because units here have +1. So this Vayne, even when attacking in like that, when it does get its assault +3, that's going to be +4, making it a 6 cost. And then likewise on the other side of the battlefield, or on the other side of the board, the other battlefield is going to be Grove of the God Willow. We've seen it multiple times before, but when you hold here, draw 1. And I mean, you saw how big of a difference that made back in a couple rounds ago.
Yeah, just being able to say, hey, I'm digging one more card deep, especially into this matchup here where you want to be using those spells as much as possible. We've seen the Discipline use, the Unguard, things like that. Even Defy, you really want to be seeing those cards in a lot of these matchups here. So the Grove just putting in a lot of work as well. Great battlefield. And here we see full tap out, and this is going to be a Snapvine onto that Vayne and saying, hey, I'm going in. And here we see Kiana going in, and this is probably going to channel a rune, actually, just to kind of balance out a little bit. And then just going to hold down that Snapvine onto the base there. And what a good turn, too. I think that's pretty chill, being able to take out the Vayne on the Trifarian War Camp, and also getting the Conquer and reestablishing with the Kiana Conquer.
No, you're exactly right there. And then on top of that as well, even just holding this battlefield as well will add an additional card to turn. And so you'll be drawing 2 at that point. And I mean, at the same time, still taking a look at the hand as well. It's looking pretty good for both competitors here, and a Grand Stratagem in hand still as well. But another Snapvine being in the hand of Jay, that can be pretty dang scary.
Yep, very scary indeed. And the MVP, one of the MVPs of the day in Pookie, the pit rookie, just chilling in hand there as well. So we definitely will see that probably come out at some point during this game. But here we see Kaisa coming down, and this Kaisa is actually really huge as well. And man, look at that value. Kaisa into just getting 2 more tokens and another body on board as well. That's 5 bodies off of just 1 turn. Just insane value from the Darius here.
Yeah, and that's why you can't sleep on Darius. He can just go ahead and just instantly go wide and be absolutely scary right there. And there's a lot of utility that you can have. You have the Kaisa, which is really good. You have a Draven, which can come in and be an absolute tank at the end of the game. Even right now, if he goes ahead and plays the Draven when it's at 4, it becomes a 7 might, because you have 4 points there in that case. Now, of course, in this case, Draven right now would only be a 4, but still, when you get into that late game, Draven can make a big difference.
Yeah, Draven definitely giving Darius access to that late game just by saying, hey, I play this really aggressive game plan, and I need a body to kind of just stick, and that Draven definitely sticks, and he showboats a lot about it, right? Very strong card in the late game, especially when you get to that 5-6 point threshold. Very good attacker as well. But we see here on the opposite side, it is Jay who's in control right now, having 4 points. And that's the thing. The points differential does not matter too much. What matters is how we traverse the mid game. Right now, we need to see how Darius will be able to clear not only the Snapvine, but also has to get rid of this Kiana as well. And Jay still has 4 up, right? And here we're just going to see a very early Grand Stratagem, and going to recycle 2 runes, and this is probably going to be a win wall. And first time we've seen it today, and man, what a time to see it. Great play right there.
Wall is an absolute game changer right there. He added 2 to his deck potentially. It's a side decked card, and it is a 3 recycle 2 to counter a spell. Doesn't matter the cost or anything else, you counter it. and it is a big cost. That recycle too can make a very big difference on what you can play this next turn. But man, did that just save him.
I think Jay had a little bit of clairvoyance there because I think he just was able to smell that grand stratagem coming. He was holding on to it. He was like, anytime you slam that grand stratagem, I just have the win wall for it. And it did pay off really well for him there, just able to stop that there. And then still has enough for the on guard, being able to buff the Kiana and saying, hey man, that push you just made, doesn't matter, bro. Doesn't matter. And I think that's going to be a 650 right there. And we're just going to go straight into game 3 because Jay just was able to run away with that game really, really easily there. And man, what?
Yeah.
What? Sometimes it just
game
is
number
like
2, just like that. No, exactly right, though. I mean, and that again is the power of Yi here. He is able to just go ahead and flood the board. And even though your opponent was necessarily able to go ahead and get some great answers, it's like, guess what, though? Here I am. What are you going to do about it? I'm able to buff my units. I'm able to make them very difficult to have to deal with. And, you know, guess what? That trade was just enough to go ahead and say, I can't do anything else. Let's just go ahead and go into game 3. 5-minute game, that happens.
It definitely happens, and especially when you had to try to make a stratagem play there and it didn't actually pay up for you, and just getting win walled, sometimes it just feels bad, and it's just like, yeah, this game's not worth going through with the hassle. Let's just go to game 3, freshen it up, like change your mentals, and let's go into the game 3 and see what we can do here. We've taken a look at the deck list, but we're going to take a look one last time. Or we're just going to go straight into it. Let's not even do that. So let's go straight into it here. Game number 3, 25 minutes on the clock, final round. They're basically playing for their life in this tournament here. Maybe they sneak into that last 5-2 spot there, but more than likely you guarantee your spot if you get the dub here. So it does look like an obelisk of power, so basically going to be able to start with 1 rune, and we see the same play here, starting off with that seal, getting that seal, and then dropping in that Legion Burger, getting the 2 tokens as well. So Master Yi is going to start off with 4 here, and is just going to play into the Kiana.
Well, and that's the crazy part. You guys just witnessed how fast we went into that next game. Very well, you know, even determining that they didn't even side out cards. They said, look, here we go. We like how those decks felt, give or take, and let's go ahead and just run it again. And so being able to then go ahead and get right back into this game, and you're already seeing Darius is able to really hit the ground running here, getting some dangerous units out. And I mean, we'll see what ends up happening. Last time, yeah, you were able to flood the board, get a lot of things out, but you weren't necessarily able to capitalize with as much as you would like. And so it'll be interesting to see how this continues to go, as already Darius is moving up now 3-1. This could very well be another very quick game.
And we talked about like the aggression and stuff like that. And we talked about the obelisk of power that was on the side. So we have a lot of ramp here, but we didn't talk about the Reckoner's arena on the other side as well. Basically both players being able to start at 1, and Darius saying, hey, I have a big board state. And now on top of it all, he has finally dropped the baited hook. So we're going to see this baited hook get some value here. We talked about this card very briefly, basically being able to say, hey, I'm going to pay 1, I'm going to sacrifice a unit, and look at the top 3 and see 1 for 1 more or 1 less might. So usually you're going to go for a 2 might here, and there's some pretty interesting targets here, but he's saying, no, I'm going to go for 4 might. Hopefully hitting that matron. Matron would be the ideal hit here.
But still, finding a Draven isn't going to be too bad of an option either here. I mean, you're still going to have him now be a 6 because of the 3 victory point, or the 3 points that, you know, Prism has already been able to rack up here. And so that's going to be something that could be very devastating. And especially as you continue to hold battlefields in this case, Draven is only going to get more and more powerful. And then even on top of that, if you even have in hand, you know, a Spectral Matron, you can go ahead and get back your Vanguard Captain and add 2 more unit tokens back into the battlefield, or back into your base.
Yeah, so definitely not the best hit off of the baited hook there, but definitely a hit of all time though. Still can do some damage, and because Darius is on 3, it just becomes a 6 might unit. So this Kiana here is not as frightening. At very worst, he trades in here with this Kiana, and there is still that recruit token that is on Reckoner's Arena as well. So he could potentially go up to a 7 might unit if he is able to hold there as well.
No, and that's going to be the tricky part there, especially if that one unit holds. Draven is going to be up at 7, and so Master Yi is going to have to use the cards in hand to add more might to Kiana in the battlefield if Draven chooses to go ahead and attack in. Even still, going up now to 6 runes for Darius at the start of the turn. That's a lot of possibilities right there. And real quick, while they are... let's see, still debating on it. Real quick, let's go ahead and take a look at what might be in hand as well. And it is looking a little scary here for, Darius, but very intimidating for Master Yi here.
Yeah, I think the decision here that Jay is trying to make is, do I want to Snapvine here to potentially just clear the token and then have all the backup next turn, or do I just want to go for it right now and just say, hey, I'm going to look to do a bunch of work here. So here we're going to see the first mate coming down, going to use that to bring the Kiana back, and then it's just going to play the Pookie out and saying, hey, I don't mind that you're at 4, that is fine, I hope you push, go to that odd curve, and hope for the best, because we do see the Snapvine in hand as well. So if here Prismaticism decides to full commit the Draven to the battlefield, he can just Snapvine it in response as well.
And that's going to be the risk, and probably why he was debating. There was a lot of different lines that you could go ahead and take here. Very difficult to try to figure out in that case, but did a great job. Difficult choice also on deciding to pull back your Kiana here. I mean, you're at 2. Your opponent is at 4, and when you pass for turn, they're going to be at 5. That 3-point difference could be a very big difference maker on trying to get back into this game. Not to say that there's not that chance, but it's going to be a little bit tougher. But still, he has a very good calculation here on what he needs to be able to do to get back into this game. And again, the Snapvine is going to be helpful. Maybe even Master Yi at the side of his deck could be helpful as well.
Yep, maybe trying to play a little bit of a cheeky game plan here. Maybe push up the Darius, push up the Draven there to the Obelisk of Power, and then just hold up all your mana, saying, hey, I have nothing to do. And we did see a Grand Stratagem in hand as well. That could be a cheeky play that you can do. A lot of people tend to use Grand Stratagem aggressively, but also forget that it can be also used defensively as well. Yep, and then we're just going to see the Darius come out, and then the baited hook, and then we're looking for a 2-might, I believe.
Yep, so we'll get to see what might be found. And that'll ready up the Darius as well. That counts as a card played. And so looks like it very well could be a difficult choice here. And I mean, Master Yi's base is nothing to bat an eye at. There's even a lot that he can add to it. And so it's like, with all that considered, and especially not knowing what your opponent has in hand, it's like, if I make a wrong choice here, that could really turn the tides of this game. And especially when we are so close to that top cut, the final round, it's like, what do I decide here? And like we said, this has already been a long day. We have been playing since early in the day, and I think we're on hour 6 or 7 right now with everything. Hour 9 on the stream even.
Yep, and here we're going to see the Vayne coming out. So that is going to ready the Darius, and Vayne is definitely a good hit here to get off of a recruit token, because that means now if you decide to go into the battlefield, go to 5, next turn you can single cap. You don't even have to double cap. You can single cap, go to 6, and then look to set up for the next turn. So maybe a stratagem play there, maybe looking to spam some bodies on board as well. So definitely some lines there that you can definitely do.
So we'll see what's able to then happen here in this case. This is going to be an interesting board state to try to continue to go in. I'm going to be curious to see how this responds. This is a scary board, especially with especially with Vayne being out on the board, adding 3 attack to make it a 5, that can be a big tide swing right there as well to try to get back board control, get back that. On top of that, the Darius now also being at 7 can be that's tough to have to deal with. So Master Yi has a lot of thinking to be able to do to try to continue to stay into this game. Only down by 1. There's a lot of options here, and the Kiana is going to be able to still put in some work here.
Yeah, ideally here for Darius, you want to see Master Yi fully tap out. That means you can go a little bit more aggressive on the next turn here. But Jay's probably thinking, we did see Jay's hand earlier, and he does have the Snapvine. He does have some tools available to him to be able to deal with his board state here. But this is one of the dilemmas when you're playing Yi, because you're playing such a responsive deck from time to time, especially with like these Dreadboom Predators and things like that. And here, speaking of cards that are reactive, we're going to see a Charm here. So this Charm is going to go into this Kiana. This Kiana is going to go up to 5, and then going up to 7 because of Master Yi ability. And this poor Darius here is only at 5 might right now, and here comes a Cleave, and this Cleave is going to be able to give Darius Assault 3, so going up to 8 here, unfortunately, for the side of Jay. And Jay's going to have to respond here with an Unguard, basically going up +2, and that was very, very close on the side of Jay.
It was, but I mean, also being able to go ahead and attack in with all your runes at the ready. You have everything that you can use to go ahead and go for it. But I mean, you don't want to lose the Darius in this case, and you know that Yi has responses, but it's like you're just hoping, is this going to be enough? And unfortunately, the Darius falls, and that is going to be a big change here right now. I mean, and we haven't necessarily also seen that many charms coming into factors here in this game with all the Master Yis that we've seen today. It's been a little bit, but not nearly as much as we've seen. But right there, that was a big difference maker.
Yep. The main use of Charm that we saw earlier today was when that Yi and Blitzcrank was doing their shenanigans. That's where we saw Charm being very, very effective. But just playing out another Pookie and just buffing up that first mate there. So saying 4 might, bringing it up to potentially 6 on defense, and just leaving a few runes up potentially, or probably dropping another Pookie. I wouldn't be surprised either, or dropping another body. But do you want to leave yourself fully tapped out to get punished here? So just going to end up hiding a card here, and it looks like that's going to be a pass over.
Yeah, I mean, that is intimidating. Yes, you have a great board to be able to attack with as Darius, but the mystery card, the hidden ability in a battlefield, and it's like, what could it potentially be? And it's like, now we got to start weighing a lot of risk and reward here, because the biggest thing about that is your opponent now is potentially going to be at 6 if you just sit there and try to develop your board state. If you go ahead and take 1, then it could very well be 5-5. And so there's a lot of calculation that you have to do, especially as the Darius player, to be able to get things moving. Now, of course, the hook could maybe even try to come into play, and, you know, maybe to try to see what you can potentially do with more units out onto the board. But still, it's a very difficult thing to try to figure out what to maybe do to get back into this game.
Yeah, we haven't seen Matron this game as well, so Matron is always a factor here. Maybe saying, hey, I can let my opponent stay at 6, but I don't think that's what Prismaticism is about to do here. He's just going to say, all right, Draven's going to be at 7, so I'm just going to bring in Draven and say, hey, man, do you have something? Deal with me here. But none of that. Draven's going to end up conking there, going up to 5, so that Draven is now 8 might right there on that battlefield alone. And the question is, do you want to try to challenge over with that Vayne into that Kiana to see what you can get off of there, because 5, like I said, is a very awkward time because you have to essentially hold or double cap to try to steal. And here we're going to see a second vein coming down, and both veins going to go up in here, and that's going to be 10 damage going into the side here. And no surprise with the Zhonya's here. So this Zhonya's is going to proc the Kiana to go back. It's going to end up killing one of the veins and now going up to 6. So now the pressure is on Jay. Jay has to double cap here, going to 6 for the follow-up turn, and then saying, hey, I'm going to be able to do. But the big thing here is because that Draven is on the board as well, potentially Prismaticism can go up to 7 and then look to hopefully double cap. And here we're going to see a baited hook come down and try to get something off of here. Ideally, you want to get potentially one of the rear guard. Yep. And the Vanguard Captain does come down. This is going to make 2 tokens. So this is ideally what he wanted to see here, which is beautiful for him. So going to recycle those cards and then boom, set up those 2 tokens as well.
And that's going to be a big deciding factor. I mean, double vein, that is pretty much exactly what you would want when going into trying to take the battlefield, and now being at 6. It's like, ooh. And then for more insult to injury, you're just going to throw a Poro out there. You know, why not? It's a daring Poro after all. So, you know, why not? And so this is going to be a very big turn for Master Yi. Now, he does have still the 7 runes to go ahead and try to get things done, but there is one hidden card on Draven's side, and that can be pretty intimidating to have to try to go ahead and take care of here. Could be a hidden blade as well.
Yeah, you as Master Yi right now, you kind of have to deal with a board here, because not only if you leave that Draven on board, right, that means you not only will your opponent be going to 7, they can just grand stratagem and like we saw in game 1 and just being able to run away with the game. And that's the decision making here. Only has 7 runes available here, so it's not like he can play the Master Yi and then also being like, all right, I'm going to come in. That's 8 might you have to deal with right there.
Yep, and that's gonna be difficult. And so I'm curious. It's like having the hourglass really helped make the board state a little bit easier, but even still, that hidden card. I mean, Draven being at 9, it's like you can't just go ahead and send in one of your units and be like, well, are you going to activate your hidden? No, you can't do that. You got to go ahead and almost send all in now with, for example, like your Master Yi, because it will at least come in ready. But even still, but it looks like Sabotage is going to be taking a look at the hand, and it is a grand stratagem that will be added to the bottom of the deck. So at least he has that out of the way. That is a lot of information to also have about the battle state right now. But still, there is a big board state here for our opponent, and Master Yi needs to figure out how to take care of that Draven.
Yeah, I think the correct line there was using that Sabotage, because he realized that if this last card in hand was a grand stratagem, he just loses there. But he also has to realize he needs to get through 9 might on the side of Draven there, plus 1 hitting card. So here we're going to see a Kiana come down, and we're going to see a Poro come down. And he's just saying, hey, I hope that you can't double take here. And going up to 7, and it is looking really, really rough here. Just having to get over here. We're just going to, that looks like the top deck. Call the weak. Hidden Blade, sorry. Getting rid of the Kiana, and then just going to use their Recruit to cap for the last point. So Darius ends up getting the dub there. And off of the top, this is the second game this tournament that we have seen a top deck Hidden Blade just end up running away with the game. Honestly, very strong.
Yeah, that is just absolutely impressive. Great game there, right there by Darius to go ahead and take that. And I mean, gotta be impressed with how that deck was able to go ahead and perform. Great job to see this, Darius. And you get to see exactly why this deck gets to be in the top. And will it go ahead and potentially even take this entire tournament? I mean, we got to see what it did.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't expecting Darius. Darius, man, it's really good. It goes fast, it goes hard. You have to deal with the pressure, and we saw there how Draven, we didn't think the Draven would be relevant there, but Draven really coming in and showing just the power of a card he is. And man, it was just really, really solid overall to see Darius gameplay like that. Man, SK, it's been a pleasure here casting with you for this whole tournament here. And man, we still have a lot of Riftbound to go, even though that we're not going to be here for a little bit and we're going to have top 8. It's been a pleasure having you with me for these last pass rounds.
Yep, it's been a great tournament, guys. We are going to be taking a quick break here going into Top Cut, and when we come back, we're going to have 2 casters brand new to go ahead and give you the top 8. So until next time, guys, TMAC and Silent Knight are signing off.